Welcome back to another episode of Let's Stay In.
I'm Anna, and this is Mark.
Now, before we get into today's episode, we got to give you that annoying reminder. Make sure you like, subscribe, download, comment. If there's a button, make sure you click it. Somehow, I think that helps us out.
With that being said, let's just jump right in.
Always, welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
Hello, I'm good.
We appreciate you coming on today. So this is the first time on a podcast, you know?
I know, I'm nervous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We're going to get into...
I feel like we'll make you feel comfortable. Everything that I was going to say, that sounded so creepy.
We'll make you feel comfortable.
Good any moment now. Like, what the fuck?
Better you saying that shit than me.
You'll feel great soon. What?
Well, anywho, all right, so let's just say that somebody comes up to you. I don't even know. You're at a coffee shop. Somebody comes up to you. They're like, who are you? What's your story? Give like your 30-second elevator pitch.
So my name is Heloise. The H is silent, which I have to tell people a lot. I'm French. I was born in Hawaii. I'm 23, currently a content creator, model, like every other girl in LA, but that's what I do. Woo! But yeah, I was born in Hawaii, and then I lived in Hong Kong and Thailand, and I grew up for most of my life in Thailand. And there's no specific reason. My parents are just hippies.
Okay, so it was just by choice.
It's just by choice, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like, I think about, like, I don't know, like growing up in Michigan, it was like people, you know, if they were going on like a family trip, it was like, oh, we're going to Florida. Like, and that was, or they go to like Cedar Point in Ohio or whatever. But like growing up in Thailand is such a like worldly experience at such a young age. Do you find that when you're talking to people now that there's like differences that you notice from growing up in Thailand versus somebody who grew up in Michigan or, you know, wherever?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I moved here about 6 years ago, and when I came to college for the first time, I had to give a speech to every person I talked to because they couldn't wrap their brain around that I didn't like grow up in California. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Like, you know that scene from Mean Girls where they're like, if you're from Africa, why aren't you white? Like, they just couldn't, they didn't get it. They're like, so like, you're Asian? They're like, are people in Thailand like white? I'm like, no, that's not how it works. White people can live everywhere. But yeah, so I kind of had to explain that to a lot of Americans, realized a lot of people don't know geography.
Yeah.
But I do think every single time I go back home, like it's an international kid thing. Like all of us, like we kind of grew up living in different places. And so when I'm home, when I talk to people I grew up with, we kind of just get each other. And sometimes there is a little bit of a disconnect with Americans that have never left the country. But I don't know, I feel like it's very diverse here and people are very understanding and open. So yes and no. You know.
So what's home for you now?
Still Thailand. Yeah,
okay.
My parents still live there. And technically, even though I'm not Thai, I grew up like most of my life there. So I would say that's home. And I was just there like 3 weeks ago, actually.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
What was your schooling like? Did you go to a standard school? Were you homeschooled?
I went to an international school. I had a great like high school experience. It was such a beautiful school. It kind of looked like a college campus, actually. So yeah, that was my experience, and a lot of people from different places. A lot of mixed people, a lot of like British, American, Russians. Like, so it was nice.
I love hearing that because I feel like my boyfriend was an army brat. So he was the same, lived in Germany, lived in Hawaii, all over the place.
Yeah.
And every single time I talk to anyone that's lived in like 12 different places by the time they were 18, army brat. And I love the reminder that you can move anywhere you want. You don't just have to stay here. You don't have to stay in the United States just because you're from here. You can go anywhere you want to and raise your kids anywhere you want to. You have that option. I think that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. And even my parents, they don't consider themselves American. Like my mom is French, but she grew up in Hawaii and then she moved to Asia for modeling. And my dad, he grew up like born and raised in Hong Kong his whole life.
Oh, wow.
So my parents, like they don't consider themselves American. So it's funny that like I came here and now I'm like, no, I'm full blown American, you know, because they kind of have like a disconnect with that. Like they could never picture themselves ever living here.
What drew you to America?
Growing up, like I'm an only child. So I spent a lot of time on the internet and I always like watch YouTubers and I saw like the Instagram models and I was like, oh my God, like the US is so cool. Like it was just like everything in like like pop culture, like, and I specifically wanted to go to California. I think you just kind of romanticize it a little bit. And so I was actually the only one out of like my entire grade to come to America. Everyone went to like Europe or, you know, the UK. But yeah, that's what drew me here is I think just seeing things. And I thought America was so cool.
Do you still think it is?
No.
The reality.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, dang, I'm in LA.
It's so sick.
Yeah, this is not as great as I thought it would be.
That part.
But it is cool, you know, like sometimes you see people that you grew up watching, or like I remember I'd be in high school and I used to see like Instagram models. I'd be like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I wish I looked like her. And then I see her at a party.
So
and
weird.
like we're friends now. So it's weird, you know, but yeah.
Have you ever, okay, so you grew up in Hong Kong or Hawaii, then Hong Kong, then Thailand. Do you ever like, and then you moved to California, all like very pretty, cool places. Hong Kong's like super, you know, just, I don't know, I've never been there. So I was going to describe Hong Kong, but it's like,
Super, yeah.
I would assume it's not
yeah,
like,
you know, super cool though.
yeah. But like, have you ever been to like Kansas and been like, whoa, this is so drastically different than like all the other places that I've lived and been?
I haven't been to Kansas. I did go to Dallas for a wedding recently. And sometimes there is a little bit of like a culture shock where I'm like, whoa.
I would see that in Dallas being a culture shock for you, for
Whoa.
sure.
But it is kind of fun because, like I said, like you do kind of romanticize the U.S. a little bit. So when you see very mundane things, like I remember doing college tours when I was like 17 and I saw a yellow school bus. I was like, oh my God, like that's real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know? So it's like little things like that where I'm like, oh my guys, like I'm seeing it. Target.
Target. Target.
Yeah.
Oh, there was nothing better than you were like 9 years old in the Target and you got to get like a Slurpee or something like that while you're walking around. Like, oh, that shit hit.
It still hits very hard. I like banned myself from going to Target this month because I'm trying to save money. Yeah. And that's like the place that sucks the most money.
Oh,
out
dude.
of me.
For me, it's Amazon.
That as well.
Amazon is just like, and you feel so great when you get a package in the mail and then it's like, and I got toothpicks. Like, I don't know, just some super random. And you're like, why am I excited about this? But like you get excited about a random package.
Consumer culture, man. Yeah. Dopamine hits.
Yeah.
Should we jump into our prompts?
Yeah. Let's do it. So we have this new segment going called Gold, Silver, and Bronze. And basically we ask you a question. You have a gold answer, you have a bronze answer, and you have a silver answer and a bronze answer. So we asked you ahead of time which ones you wanted to get into. And so we're going to start off with, should we do, actually, which one do you want to start off with? How about that?
Let's do 3 things you would tell your younger self.
Okay. And is it specific? Did you do 3 things that you tell yourself specifically about friendships or relationships?
Yeah, I did something like specifically to me.
Okay. Yeah.
I did it specifically, the 3 things I would tell my younger self about relationships and friendships.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't say just myself.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'd be very different. I would tell myself a lot.
All right. Say. Well, then, I feel like let's start off with Heloise. And what's your gold answer?
Cool. So I put my first one. This is like personal, I guess, but I saw this quote on TikTok that was like, growing up and realizing that your parents, it's also their first time living as well. And I feel like that really resonated with me because when I was growing up, I feel like I had kind of just a weird relationship with my parents. I feel like we fought a lot, like we didn't understand each other. And then you kind of grow up and you're like, damn, like my parent is just a kid. Like everything, for example, like my mom, you know, I feel like we fought so much when I was younger because we just didn't get each other. And I would just see her as this mother figure that was yelling at me and getting mad at me. And then as you get older, you kind of have these one-on-one conversations and you realize, you know, like she's trying to figure it out too. And she has her own family trauma that she's had to overcome that, you know, it's like, you know, she's just a girl. Like literally, I know it's like funny to say, but that really is it because now I have friends that are becoming parents and entering motherhood. And I could never imagine that doing it before. But, you know, it just puts things into perspective that one day you will be a parent and you will make those same mistakes. And I think you just have to be more lenient in the moment and just realize that they're people and not just this parental figure, you know?
Yeah. They're doing life for the first time.
They're doing life for the first time and, you know, you should forgive them and be gracious of things too.
I always think about it in terms of like the cycle of like when you are born, you are like trying to figure out life, right? And by the time you figure it out is probably the time that you settle down, get married, have kids. And then you're in your next cycle, right? You're trying to figure out how to be a parent. They're trying to figure out how to be an adult, right? Your kid. And then by the time your kid figures out how to be an adult, you've figured out how to be a parent. Now you're learning how to be a grandparent, right? And then it's just that cycle. And like everybody's doing their damn best. And some people do a better job than others. But like it is something where, everybody's just trying to figure it out. And so I think when I like kind of took that approach and almost like reminded myself too that not everybody's like new chapters can start at the same time and everything like that, and just kind of be like, hey, we're all just trying to figure it out day by day. And some people figure it out faster than others, but like, it is what it is. We're on our like own little journey of that.
For sure. And also just treating your parent like a friend, like being able to have very relaxed conversations with them, talk about them. Like my parents aren't together, for example, and me and my mom have had so many in-depth conversations about her and my dad's relationship. And it almost feels like you're talking to a friend about like her toxic ex-boyfriend or whatever. And I'm telling her, I'm like, I would never have gotten back together with him if I were
And you're talking about
like
your dad?
I'm giving her advice like I would give to my best friend, but it feels nice when you reach like that level of intimacy with a parent that you've never reached before. So I think that takes a lot of like growing up and maturing. And I'm glad I'm not like 12 anymore being like, bitch, mom.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I do also feel like with that too, that when you understand your parents' marriage, that's like such an important thing. I actually think that's something that I tell everybody, like try to understand as much as you can your parents' marriage, the positives, the negatives, the things that you want to emulate in your future marriage, the things you don't want to emulate in your future marriage, the way that they raised you and the things that you want to emulate with that with your kids someday, the things that you don't want to emulate. And I think it's really, really important because I think a lot of times people almost at certain times can over glorify their parents, right? And they look at it of like, well, if I ended up okay, then like everything that they did was okay, right? And it's like, well, you can still love your parents and be like, oh, maybe I would go about things a little bit different with this, and maybe I want my marriage to look slightly different, or I do want it to look like this way, right? And so I think it's just important to kind of look at your parents' marriage, look at the way that they raised you, kind of have a better understanding of it, and regardless, appreciate, you're here today, and that's always a beautiful thing, but just kind of learning from everything that you've experienced throughout. So
yeah, for sure.
Totally.
All right, Anna, what's your answer?
I was going to say, do you want to go next? If you consistently attract a personality type, whether that be a friendship or a relationship, maybe that is a reflection of a part of yourself that needs to be healed. So if you are attracting men that don't respect women, you don't respect yourself, and then it's being continuously confirmation bias basically throughout the relationship, and then you were validated that you are in fact not someone to be respected. Or if you're somebody where I used to attract a personality type of people that infantilized me, that like very much treated me like I was a kid and like talked down to me. They told me what I should and shouldn't do. And I liked that because I didn't trust myself that I could take care of myself. So now I realize I can, and I want people that are my peers and not people that are like I consider superior and they deem themselves superior as well.
Yeah.
Damn, that's facts. That's facts. That's a good one.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for me, my gold medal answer would be it's okay to replace people. So you should evaluate your relationships, friendships, whatever it may be on a regular basis, and evaluate it, understand that relationship, and at certain times understand that you do have to replace certain people. Like just because somebody's been in your life for an extended period of time doesn't mean they're supposed to be in your life for the next 10 years, and that you have to accept that certain relationships are not going to be forever. And I think that's one of those kind of weird adjustments of like when you are going through school or college or whatever, you have all these different friends that you're kind of friends with because of proximity, right? It's like they live in a house right by you, or they're in the dorms right by you, or you're in classes together, and then all of a sudden now you're not, and you're in the real life. And you have to actually ask yourself, do I genuinely enjoy that person, or was I friends with them because of proximity and ease and things like that? And I think really looking at your friendship and saying, okay, is this something, or friendship or relationship again, is this something that really brings out the best in me and something that I want to maintain? And actually, I would say like once Anna moved down to San Diego, it was like that was such a testament to our friendship that she drives up here every other week to do podcast episodes and just to hang out and things like that. And it shows that, okay, now that we don't live close by, she still wants to do that. And that's obviously a testament to like our friendship and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of follows into like my bronze question. It was kind of similar, actually. It was some people are only meant to be in your life for certain periods of time, which goes again with when you're in high school.
Bronze.
Yeah,
we all, that was quite literally my bronze.
Agree.
Yes.
I think I look back on high school and I remember being so upset over a breakup or a guy like breaking my heart. And now I look back and I'm like, I don't even remember that. I don't remember you. You served no significance to my life. But at the time, it seemed like, oh my God, I'm never going to get over this. He was the love of my life, da da da. But I don't know. I think you just overcome things and you grow and you realize like maybe it wasn't that deep. Like the people who are bullying me or making me feel bad, like they serve no purpose in my life now. And same goes with like bad friendships or etc. Like they're not in your life for a reason now, and you move on. And sometimes people are only supposed to be there for a chapter and not the next one, and that's okay because like you learn from that. Yeah.
That feeds into my silver. Now that our bronzes are all checked off the list. So my silver is that when people are cruel to you, it is not a reflection of your worth. And that is something I've had to remind myself time and time again. People are projecting left and right. Constant state of projection. So when they are putting you down, trying to make you feel small, they feel small. Mm-hmm. If people that feel the need to be cruel and put you down for the sake of making themselves feel big, wow, okay. When people put you down to make themselves feel big, it has nothing to do with you as an individual. It's really not about us. It's not that deep.
I know. I was literally about to write that down. Yeah. Like the same thing. But it's so true because anytime someone says something so negative to you, I just think like you need to go to therapy because you have some deep rooted issues. If you really feel the need to say that to a stranger or a friend or somebody, like I don't know what's wrong, but you need to figure that out.
Yeah. Like you hate yourself. And that's so sad.
For sure. Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit of compassion for people too. And I feel like I'll see that in smaller doses, even with friends, when people have said hurtful things, you kind of take a step back and you're like, okay, this person's hurting. Who cares if this hurt your ego for a minute? This person wouldn't have done that unless they were hurting. So let's just like maybe ask them, talk to them. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I would say my silver medal is what did I write down? Is that you're going to be okay. I think that's the biggest thing that I would tell my younger self is like you're going to be okay, because I think kind of what you were saying similar before is that you go through so many things in life where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get to tomorrow, right? And you're just trying to make it from that morning to that night, and you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you're hoping you just feel better, right? And I think it's just reminding yourself that throughout life there's just going to be certain times that you're going to get kicked in the teeth and it's going to suck, and like embrace that. Like embrace the fact that like, yes, right now sucks, but also you've gotten through these times before, and like that's how resilient you are. And I think, you see that all the time in, all over the world when there's terrible tragedies that happen all over the world on a regular basis and things like that. And it reminds you how resilient humans are to, no matter what happens, they keep coming back, right? And they keep pushing forward and they keep surviving. And I think that's like the mentality that I just try to take of understanding when I'm going through a tough time. Like, yes, it sucks, and you can acknowledge that, and it's okay to I guess just be conscious of like, hey, right now is tough, but also knowing I'm going to get through this just like I've gotten through everything else. And now the next challenge that I face isn't going to feel as daunting because I just handled what I just went through, right? So it was like the first time I got my heart broken, I was like, am I ever going to like feel love again? And like, am I ever going to like, you're like, I might be cooked. I might just be single forever. And then when like you feel love again and it feels actually even better than that first time, you're like, oh, damn, like, okay, I am capable of that and I'm going to be okay. And then when you go through heartbreak the second time, you're like, hey, I'm better equipped to handle it because of what I've gone through previously, right? So I think it's just that reminder of no matter what you're going through, like, you're going to be okay. And what feels daunting right now won't feel daunting once you get through it.
Yeah, that's so true. Mm-hmm. Do you get panic attacks?
Me?
Yeah.
I get anxiety attacks sometimes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
I felt it.
Yes.
Like, I know.
No, I'm like, anxiety. No, something you said feeds into something I was telling myself. So I was diagnosed with a panic disorder 2 years ago. I've accepted that a part of my life is just getting panic attacks. Mm-hmm. And that's step one, is you just have to accept that they will happen. But recently I've been getting a lot of nocturnal ones. Mm-hmm. So I will go to sleep and I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I think I'm dying. And it is like, without a doubt, one of the most terrifying feelings in the world. But the one thing that I'm able to like stop the waves of panic is I'll tell myself, you got through this last Tuesday. You got through this on Saturday. You're going to get through this. Everything will come to an end. That's life. You have to accept it. And all of your intrusive thoughts are going to be like, am I going to go crazy? Like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? what if? I guess I just have to accept that might just be the case. That might just be the state that I have to be in, and that I'm able to calm myself down and go back to sleep. And that really, I found that the things that you tell yourself in moments of panic are the things that we need to hear all the time in our lives, whether we are in the middle of a panic or not. We just want to know that we're going to be okay, and that we're equipped, and that we're capable, and that all the bad things are going to clear out, just like all the good things are too. It's just always going to be a cycle of either good, bad, or mundane.
Yeah, for sure.
know?
For sure. I agree. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at like taking care of myself. Like I get really bad anxiety sometimes, you know, when you said you wake up and you feel like you're dying, I get like existential thoughts of death. And then my heart starts beating and I'm like, oh my God, you know? Yeah. So I just start panicking and getting really anxious about things. But I feel like I've learned how to take care of myself. Like whenever I feel sad, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to let myself sit here and rot on the couch and be sad. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to book a workout class. I'm going to go hang out with a friend. And I feel like that's just like part of being an adult, is like not just letting yourself be sad. Like just how like you would take care of a friend, take care of yourself. Because everything is an option. You could sit here and you could be sad and you can cry for hours, or you could do something about it, just like taking your mind off of something, you know?
Totally. And it is so like, it's so specific to the person, because I feel like a lot of people, if they have a tendency to wallow, the fighting for yourself is really important. But then the people that always have to be moving and doing the next thing because they don't allow themselves a moment to cry, give yourself that hour to cry. You know, it's just like really be in tune with what you need in the moment, or what maybe doesn't feel natural to you. And for me, it does not feel natural for me to sit in that thought even longer, because I have the same thing.
Dude, me too. Yeah.
Obsessive thoughts. And then what I want to do is I want to immediately go outside and, you know, stay active, because at least I can control that, control what I can eat, control what I do and say. And if I just sit with it, that ends up being the most effective, even though it's most uncomfortable.
For sure. Sometimes you just need to have a little cry.
Sometimes
I just cry for 10 minutes and I'm like, that was enough. All right,
a hot shower
I'm
cry.
Finished.
Hot shower cry is elite.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I'm crying about.
Oh, I love
just
those.
built up like frustration.
Cry.
Yeah.
I feel like the times that I'm not a crier, but when I do, sometimes I'm like, oh damn, I just did that. Like yeah, I'm like, oh wow, look at that. I felt emotion. Holy fuck. I just think it's like there's certain times that I don't know. I've always been the type that when I'm going through something tough, if it's like the loss of somebody close to me or whatever it may be, I need to go for a walk and kind of be by myself. And a lot of times I write down kind of what I would say to the person that I lost. And when I've done that, that's kind of been a kind of like a therapeutic thing for me to I guess like write it down, kind of verbalize what I would say in that moment, and then I kind of get all that emotion out because I'm feeling everything in that present time, and then it doesn't feel as like daunting. I've like almost accepted it by writing it out, and so again, everything just goes back to like once you do that and you let that out and you let your emotion out in whatever way you need to, whether it's a cry or whatever it needs to be, a going for a run or going for a walk or whatever you need to do. And then you just remind yourself, like, I'm going to be okay. I mean, again, we don't have a choice but to keep pushing forward. So like, you do what you got to do to like, embrace the emotion you feel in that moment. And then, just remind yourself, hey, tomorrow's a new day.
And sometimes it is a choice to be okay. Like, I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say, but like there are so many times where you can look back on moments of your life and be like, that could have really taken me out. And I chose to be okay. I forced myself to do it. And we realize that you're giving yourself a little bit more power and control. And that's what we all really want as humans. So I feel like just telling yourself, I can make myself be better.
Yeah.
I can fight for myself.
Yeah, that's facts right there.
Should we move on to our next one? Because we kind of covered our...
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have any...
Everything was the same.
Ooh, actually, I do have one last one. The bronze medal is that the right people in your life are always obvious. And I think you have to embrace how your gut feels on certain things. And I think there's certain times we try to convince ourselves like this situation is right. And everything in life is screaming, it's not. And you're like, no, but it has to be. And it's like, I feel like the right things in life are always obvious. The right job opportunities, the right friendships, the right relationships, the right, whatever it may be. It's almost like you know when you I'll use this in kind of a funny example. You know when you eat something and you're like, okay, that just does not sit well with me, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you know the moment I eat that, my stomach is going to be like, hey brother, I do not like that, right? And so I shouldn't eat that unless I know that it's going to make my stomach hurt, right? And so it's kind of the same way with friendships and relationships. If your mind is like, hey, this is just not right for you, it's not, like, you need to just accept that. Instead of trying to fight against that, embrace that it's just not meant for you. And sometimes you got to cut out certain things because, it's just not meant for you. And embrace the things that are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amen.
100% agree. I feel like I still have to learn with that because I'm a A1 people pleaser. And I have a really hard time being assertive and just saying like no, or telling a person like, I don't want to hang out with you, or, so I get into traps with that, with people I shouldn't be around. Even if I don't really like them that much, or, they don't make me happy, I feel like I like have to, in a way.
So the only reason I got out of that, or still trying to get out of that, is I flipped the script, because I feel like I always have labeled myself a people pleaser, but I feel like I'm giving myself too much benefit of the doubt, and then I'd be stuck in that rut.
Right.
So what I did to change it was I would tell myself, you're ultimately being manipulative and two-faced by hanging out with this person because you don't actually like them. Mm-hmm. It is not authentic to continue to be seen with them, to hang out with them, to speak with them. You don't respect them. So for what? You're then being fake, because if they really knew how you felt about them and like that dread that you got when you're driving to go hang out, they'd be really, really hurt.
Yeah.
And so it's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you. So people pleasing can actually be a form of manipulation that like we don't need to participate in.
For sure. I know that's something I need to like work myself out of.
Yeah.
But I guess it sucks to say, but I'm like, I feel so bad. Like saying no.
I know.
It's so hard to say no to people.
Is that why you did the podcast?
No, I wanted to be there.
I've got to leave.
Yeah, I'm out this bitch.
But that's just been with like certain like I wouldn't even say friendships, like acquaintances that I have. Like sometimes I feel like I'm obligated to see somebody or hang out with them or entertain them just because I can't be honest, you know?
I think people do that from a dating perspective. Like how many times you see somebody that like they go on a date with somebody one time, right? And they almost act like they're like locked down to that person immediately. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, you do know you can like take it slow. And like there was a time period probably back in like our parents' generation where they went on dates and they would go on a date on Monday and they'd go on a date on Wednesday and they'd go on a date on Friday. And you would kind of quote unquote play the field, and then you would try to see, what do I like, what do I not like, and then you would pick somebody and you would actually date them and be serious about it. I do think our generation at times is just kind of like, well, I'm just going to go on dates all the time and never settle down. But I do think there's certain times that people like they go on one date and they're like, now I feel like I have to be so extremely loyal to this person. It's like, you should be loyal to yourself. Like, make sure that you are 100% like lock solid on that before you start turning down other opportunities, and you may miss out on something good by just being like, I have to be with this one person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I hope none of my exes are listening to this, but I would do that with men all the time, where like I didn't think I really had a say in it. And people have like asked me why I didn't date very much. And it was because like if I went on a date with you, I'd probably date you then for 3 years.
Dude,
we
are the same.
Yeah, it was really bad. So I'd go on a date with someone that I didn't really have chemistry with, but they were obviously so into me and pursued me so hard that I was like, okay, I guess I don't have a choice. 3 years later, I'm still with that person because I just didn't know how to tell them I wasn't interested. Mm-hmm. Still, it's really bad. Just because they like you doesn't mean you have to like them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's facts.
Okay.
I do have another one I forgot about. I also think I said bronze for silver by accident. But my last one was to stop comparing yourself, which is such a cheesy, like cliche one. But specifically for me, when I was growing up, like I said, I grew up in Thailand. All the girls I was growing up around, they were like half Asian. They looked so different to me. Like my beauty standard when I was growing up was to be like super tall, super skinny, tan, brunette. And I was just the complete opposite. And I always kind of had like hips and thighs and a butt, which would be considered a good thing now. Mm-hmm. Actually, probably makes my career now. But but when I was growing up, it made me so cripplingly like insecure. I really didn't like myself, and all I wanted was to look like those girls. Yeah. And then I came to America and people had very opposite experiences. They were like, well, for us, the beauty standard was to be blonde and blue eyes and petite. And I was like, well, I didn't have that, right? So I don't know. I guess the grass is always greener. And I think it's funny that the things that made me so insecure about myself are the things that people really like about me, and the things that made me like popular with social media, etc. So yeah, that's just something that I would tell my younger self is like the things you don't like, people will find really beautiful, and you don't need to compare yourself to a girl that literally is not the same ethnicity as you. You will never look like her, no matter how hard you try. So just try to look like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's facts. All right, let's move on to the next one. We got 3 things that give you the ick. 3 things that give you the ick. So
Did this come easy to you?
Oh, this came so easy.
For some reason, this was like really difficult for me because
What?
I could go superficial or I could go like
deep.
deep ick.
I feel like I could write like 100.
Because like superficial, like I'm like, all right, here goes 50, but like deep icks, I was like, I don't know.
okay, well then give your first, Anna. Let's see what you came up with.
Okay, when a guy puts you down in a group as a part of a joke, like you can feel when the guy is getting competitive with you because he can feel that you're a little too liked in this situation. So he wants to humble like your status. And so he'll either have to say something embarrassing, that you did, or something gross that you did, or like, oh no, you didn't really do that. Like question your experience to make you seem like you've lied or exaggerated. A guy that is competitive with you is so foul.
So gross. Speaking,
foul.
that reminded me also like friendship ick. Like I've had so many girls do that to me where I'm like, we're friends, we're best friends. And then they keep making comments about me in front of other people.
Guys
that are like really backhanded. And I'm like, whoa, like they're jealous of you. It's weird.
But then you don't really get, I had that where I had a girlfriend that I was really close with. I brought her around a group of guys. I didn't like any of the guys. I had a boyfriend at the time. I was not even remotely like a threat, an issue, whatever. And I have IBS, okay? I have some tummy problems.
Don't we all?
And she, no matter what the topic was, kept bringing it back to me shitting, okay? No matter what. It was
Everyone poops.
Everyone does it, okay? And it was like so obvious where she kept bringing up how gross I was or things that have happened to me that are embarrassing. And all the guys are just like, damn, like you're just out for her today. So they saw it. But I never hung out with her again. But I feel like girls, guys, everyone does it.
And little does she know that you probably made you more attractive to the guys.
Yes, all of them.
Yeah.
Then
because I mean,
hit me up later on Instagram.
Yeah. Men are simple creatures. When they're like, oh yeah, she's like super normal then. Like, yeah, she poops too. Like
she cracks some jokes about it. They landed.
Such a cool girl.
Yeah. So she was trying to get those guys turned off, and instead those guys were like, I love her.
I think I love this girl.
So I put to have zero self-discipline, and this comes to like so many different areas of life. For example, you could be not disciplined like with like sexually. Like if you have a wandering eye and you feel the need to constantly look at other women or constantly see naked women on your phone, like that's a discipline issue. You can't be disciplined in your relationship to not do that. Or that also comes for like work ethic. Like if you have no ambition or discipline to work or achieve any kind of success, whatever that be for you, I feel like that's just kind of like a turn off more than an ick for me. But also like the gym, like I'm an athletic and healthy person, and I feel like if somebody had no drive, like you don't necessarily have to be going to the gym every day, but if you have zero discipline to at least just take care of your body and your health in any way, to me that just says a lot about you as a person.
Amen.
Right. So that's an ick for me.
That's a new ick for me too. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Right. Forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I like the way that you related that though to like, because I've never really heard of when you think about like a guy with like a wandering eye, or to be fair, women with wandering eyes. Yeah. But I've never really thought about it from a lack of discipline. But it really is that, right? Yeah. And it's like because you, for whatever reason, like can't stop yourself. And it's like, you can, you 100% can. You are actively making many decisions that are leading to you doing X, Y, and Z. It's not like you just randomly, the P just fell into the V. Like there's a lot of actions that got to happen between now and then. And so it's like you just chose not to stop yourself. That's a discipline issue. That's truly, I've never thought about it from that perspective, but like that's 100%. Definitely a discipline issue.
It's 100%. And like, I feel like if your girlfriend is like crying in front of you and like begging you to stop doing something, and you cannot stop for whatever reason, like 100%, like it is.
You're pathological too.
Yeah, because like, why are you putting somebody through that for your own, like 5 minutes of like happiness or whatever,
Yes.
you know?
Okay, so question
That
for
was
you.
literally feeds into my next one. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys though, both based off that. Have you ever given yourself a challenge that is literally just to prove to yourself how disciplined you are? And okay, what's yours?
Absolutely. So whenever I say I'm going to go to the gym today, I have to go to the gym to that day. And if I don't do it, then I've let myself down, and I will like actually picture my self-esteem going down a notch, because my self-esteem is tied in directly with my self-respect, and like my discipline. And like discipline, I always say, is the biggest form of self-love. And if you show up for yourself when you say you're going to, your self-esteem will just start building. And so if I say I'm going to go do something, I have to go do it.
For sure. Yeah.
Have you done this, something similar?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate it back to the gym. Like, since I was 14, like, I've never missed more than 3 days of working out. Like, I just haven't. Like, it's just something that, to me, working out is like brushing my teeth. Like, I'm like, I have to do this every single day, because it's just, I want to do it, but also I have to, just to take care of myself. And I also did that with, I used to be a little bit of a messy person, and I lived with someone where that wasn't a great situation. And after, it kind of pushed me, because I was like, wow, I didn't like how that upset the other person, that I was like being messy. And now I'm like a neat freak, because
same.
that
It's
scenario, like, I just make sure that I clean every single day. And I live with someone now, and I'm just like, I never want to make her upset or make her feel like that she needs to pick up after me. So I kind of self-disciplined myself into being a clean person, because I wasn't. And now I'm just like, I can't, if anything's messy, I'm like, because I don't want to make other people upset or let other people see that. So that's also a small little thing.
No,
Yeah.
I cannot. The fact that you just said that is the exact same. So I
Right.
lived with
Yeah.
somebody. I'm always been the messy friend.
Yeah.
And I hated when people would comment on it, and it embarrassed me as like as if it made me like this like gross
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I moved in with my boyfriend, I am now neurotic. Like I actually have an issue. Like I need to dial it back. And it's because like I don't want to make anyone feel like they're in the presence of just grossness. Like I am going to have a spick and span house. Like I go into anyone's house now and clean up after them. And I went from being incredibly disgusting and messy to
I feel like I'm gonna cough. I feel like when someone gives you a label like that, that makes you feel really bad about yourself, you like make it a mission to change it, or at least like that's how I am. Like people always used to be like, because like I'm a bit ADHD, I was kind of like disorganized and I always forgot things. So now I'm like, oh my god, I can't forget anything. Like I need to like constantly checking for my phone in my pocket, because I just don't want people to say that to me. I don't want to be known as like that friend, because it feels shitty. It doesn't feel
absolutely
good.
feels shitty.
Yeah.
My boyfriend used to call me a caveman because whenever I get a package, I don't rip it from like the opening. I rip it from the middle. I just like shred things. Like I'll get boxes and I won't use a box cutter. I just fucking rip it. And I just put my back into it. And he's like, you're a caveman. Like the way you live, like you don't close bottles. You don't close doors. You just like go through life just like a tornado. And now I'm neurotic. Yeah. Thanks. But I'm also still a caveman.
Do you break down the boxes now?
No, I step on him if anything.
Okay.
I stomp on him like a caveman, but like I just shred.
Fair. The reason why I asked that though is because I did a photo shoot once with a girl who's vegan, and she was like, "Have you ever eaten vegan before?" And I was like, "For like a meal?" And she was like, "For like a day." And I was like, "Oh no, definitely not." And she was like, "Okay, I'll give you the challenge then to go vegan for a week." And I was like, "I'll one up you. I'll do it for a month." And I was like, "And I'll start right now." And she was like, "There's no way you're going to start right now." And I literally went into my refrigerator, just started throwing things away. And I was like, "Yep, all right, I'm into it." And so I went vegan for a month. I felt great, felt amazing actually. And so I think sometimes it's like giving yourself those little challenges just to prove to yourself that you can do it, right? And that's why I think like people doing like dry January, or if somebody's like, "Hey, I'm just not drinking for a bit," whatever. I'm like, that's cool, because you're giving yourself a challenge to show how disciplined you can be. And then if you decide at some point, like, okay, I want to have a glass of wine here and there, or I want to do this and this, it's you making that decision. But like, you also know you're disciplined enough to stop if you so choose to. And so, yeah, I think like discipline's an attractive trait, just a very attractive trait.
For sure.
Very, very true. Okay, what's your next one?
Oh, wait, I don't even know if I gave my first one. Yeah. I didn't even
Yeah, I
give
don't
my...
care. What's yours?
Wow.
Just yapping
I
too
don't
much.
care about the guys' icks at all.
That's
I
tough.
care what guys don't like.
Ooh, I'm curious.
Mine is when a girl, I mean, I guess, yeah, this could go for anybody, but like when somebody's too clingy, like, or obsessive. I think there's certain times that people act in a relationship like they're a fan of their partner, and I'm like, I want you to be a supporter of mine, but I don't want you to be truly like a stan, right? And are you old enough to know that term, stan?
Oh no, I
Yeah.
Okay, just make it sure.
I've been a stan.
You've been a stan of who?
Ariana Grande. I have like a fan page.
Oh really?
Love her.
Do you know? Fun fact: you guys know Lil Nas X was a Rihanna stan account?
No way.
Yeah. And then
No way.
Yeah, and then he blew up in music.
Good for him. He's so talented.
Yeah. I hope I have that story right. Otherwise, they're gonna come
It's
for me.
embarrassing.
But yeah, I would say when somebody's like too obsessive, I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, the person that you are dating is supposed to be your equal, right? And so I don't want the person that's afraid to call me out, the person who's afraid to keep me grounded, things like that. I want the person who's going to be honest and real with me and things like that. And I think there's a lot of times that people are dating somebody who's like way too much of a fan of them, and like they almost act like everything you do is amazing. And it's like, dude, nobody in the world, like everything they do is amazing. Like you just need to be honest and be real about it. I'm not saying, you know, be mean to them, but just be real. And like if something they do bothers you, say it. If you love something they do, acknowledge it, you know, but just like not being a quote unquote fan of your partner, but being more of a supporter and a compliment to them, and less of like a, oh my God, you're the greatest thing ever. I don't know. I just think sometimes people get weird with that.
No, for sure.
I agree with
That's
that.
turned me off before when somebody's been like too much too soon, and I'm like, whoa. Because I kind of like it when people take it slow, and you can't really like tell, like, you know, they like you, but you don't know how much.
You can trust it more, like a
Yeah.
slow burn. For
Yeah,
sure.
I like a slow burn. Like it feels more real. And I also like when there's like space, because then you can kind of be like, is he going to text me? Is he not?
Yeah.
And not just texting me every 5 seconds of the day. Like you're not giving me space to miss you.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever dealt with, because both of you guys have a large social media following, do you guys ever feel like there's a guy who's like just too excited to go on a date with you because of who you are, and not necessarily because of like you at your core, but just more of like, oh, she's got this gigantic following, and like if people know I'm on a date with her, like I'm gonna look cool.
Yes, I had two specifically that stand out.
Really? Yeah.
One guy asked me to go to the gym on our date and then go to coffee afterwards, and he kept taking pictures of me working out and posting it on a Snapchat.
Oh God.
And it was like, I'm not kidding when I say the hip abductor machine, the squat machine. And I'm like, those are very compromising positions too. And you're putting that to like make it clear. And he'd be like, yeah, working out with, and like took a gym selfie afterwards. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is very clear.
Very weird.
What this was.
Very weird, yeah.
I've left a date before. We were at Mexican food. Halfway through the meal, I just got up and left. I was like, I'm going to see myself out. Like, I could just tell he was like, he had built a future for us that I didn't know about, you know, based off of just basically getting to know me through my stories and my Instagram, thinking like he knew who I was. And I could tell he had really built a storyline that he had put himself into.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's creepy as hell.
Yeah, it's super creepy. And the thing is he's like actually kind of a normal guy. Like I know him.
Oh.
And, but it was.
It
Anyway,
was weird. No, I can't say that's ever happened to me. I feel like I've known the guys I've dated before they've seen my Instagram. I feel like that would be weird if I chose to go on a guy if he DM'd me first, maybe. I don't know. That hasn't happened so far, but I would say I'm very careful about who I date. I kind of suss it out a little bit. But I would be extremely weirded out by that. Like I wouldn't feel good about that.
Yeah, no, that would be like,
it's bad.
that's like the type of dude that like you end up on a Netflix documentary because he's like wearing your face type shit. You know what I mean?
And I
or
also
they're never honest with you. Like they're not
Yeah.
actually dating you. It sucks. It's like, it's very lonely when people date you for your image. Like I can't even imagine being a famous person. I think that would be the loneliest, worst thing in the entire world. Like who's actually your friend? Who just wants something from you? Who thinks that their value is higher because they're friends with you? Like I can't even imagine.
Yeah, but to go off of that, I feel like I have had a lot of like boyfriends have a problem with social media, which I'm sure you have too. Like I feel like every single guy is like, oh my God, I'm so supportive. Like I don't care if you post bikini pictures, you know, I don't care. Like you look so great. And then like a year later or a year and a half later, they're like, hey, can you delete X, Y, and Z photo? Or can you take this down or this down? And I'm like, whoa, what happened to like the super cool, chill boyfriend?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know. At the same time, like I do want to be respectful of what makes my partner comfortable. But at the same time, if you don't want to date an Instagram model, don't date an
Don't
Instagram
pursue
model.
one. You knew
because
what I did
she
before.
was posting it before. Now that you guys are dating, do you think that's going to change?
Yeah.
Just like guys, they like complain about this stuff. I'm like, well, there's tons of girls who don't post on Instagram.
Yeah.
There's girls who aren't actresses or models or in the industry. Why don't you go date them then?
Go get you one.
Yeah,
if that's
there's
what you
literally,
want.
it exists.
If they did that career before you guys met, then they can be able to stick with that. You don't all of a sudden own them because you love them now.
You can't like fundamentally change people. And that goes the same with like one of my best friends. She loves to party. She's so extroverted. She loves her alcohol and she loves to party. And her like ex now, he was always trying to change her and make her like a stay-at-home girlfriend. I'm like, then date a stay-at-home girlfriend. Like date a girl who's a homebody because there's a choice. Like don't try to change a person when you knew all this stuff about them before.
Totally.
I think the other part about that though is I don't necessarily think it's your guys' careers that they would have the issue with. I think, and we've had this conversation before, I've said like, for a guy to date a girl who's like a society standard, like 10 out of 10, right? Objectively speaking, it's like you have to have so much confidence in yourself because wherever she goes, if she's on social media, if she's walking to the gym, if she's at the grocery store, if she's at the mall, if she's having a girls' night, she's getting male attention anywhere she's going. Not every guy is capable of dating somebody on that level because you have to have the self-confidence to know she is with me. She's not going to cheat on me. So if she walks out of the house looking hot as hell, don't be thinking to yourself like, oh, that like, you know, that outfit is going to cause guys to come up to her and then she's just going to go and cheat on me. It's like, brother, if you don't think that she's loyal to you, then why are you with her? So yes, if she's wearing a super hot outfit, it honestly doesn't matter. If she's wearing that or a sweatshirt, regardless, she's getting male attention. And if she's the type that's going to leave you for that guy, then brother, you didn't have anything worth holding on to.
Exactly.
And so you just have to like, instead just support her, allow her to do whatever she wants to do. And like, again, if you're not cool with that, because I know dudes that are like, yeah, I would not be able, like, I don't want the girl I'm dating to be a model, or I don't want her posting X, Y, and Z, or walking out the door like this, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, then just don't date an attractive woman because she's going to do what she wants to do. And like, and you have to just accept that. And again, you can't just, it's not fair to like put rules on somebody. That's not nobody wants to live like that. And that's not a healthy way of living. Like, again, there are people out there that you don't have to worry about those things with. Date somebody like that. But you know, you can't just try to change somebody just because of like your own insecurities.
Oh, 100%. I met my boyfriend out in public, like unrelated. He had no way of knowing my name, who I was, what I do, anything. I was like a +1 on a random situation. We immediately connected. And like after hours of hanging out, he asked me what my Instagram was. And I like my stomach.
Dreaded question.
My stomach dropped and I'm like, everything's going to get ruined now. He's either going to treat me different or he's going to think I'm not like wife material now. And I like try to play it off like I didn't have one. And I was just like, oh yeah, but like I don't really use it. And then I realized I was like, okay, you're actively lying to someone who like, if you're being really honest with yourself, I think you know you're going to date. So like you have to be transparent. And so I said to him like, yes, I have an account technically, but it's not who I am. And he was like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. He's like, what is it? And so he looks it up and he goes, oh, I see. I get what you mean. Like I did not expect this. And like but I'm happy that he met me before because I feel like, I don't know. I'm actually curious if you think this. Do you think girls or guys have a harder time undoing their first opinion of somebody? So like when a man looks at a girl's Instagram, vice versa, and they have this preconceived notion of how they are and then they meet them in person, do you feel like women or men can undo that more?
I feel like men can undo that more than women. I think women are very open-minded, whereas men, I hate to say it, but maybe not so much.
Exactly.
Like I feel like this doesn't go for all men. There are some men that are very open-minded, but there are some guys, I think they'll see a girl online and they'll be like, whore. Like I'm never going to date this girl. Could never date a girl who posts a picture in a bikini, like whore. And then she's just forever going to be that to him. Whereas a woman, I think she can be a little bit more open-minded. Again, it's very, very situational. But yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of the opposite experience where like I post a lot of fitness stuff and like my modeling stuff. And I think people always think I'm going to be so stuck up or really mean. And I'm like the most smiley, like bubbly person. Like I like want everyone to like me. I'm like, hi, how are you? Like a golden retriever. So I don't know. That's also why I feel like I would never want a guy to see my Instagram before he meets me in person, because it's very different. Like, I don't want you to assume something and then meet me. You know, I want you to know me as a person and then get, you know, like, this is my job and this is why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want like ever an opportunity for intimidation to like play a factor, because I feel like girls are easier on the opposite sex in the way of like, okay, like, yeah, he does a lot of this sort of stuff, but like, he's so humble and great in real life, like, undo it. I feel like a lot of girls will look at my Instagram, or a lot of girls look at any girl's Instagram that they see as doing a certain career, and there's automatically this like distance of like, she's different than me.
Yeah.
And there's always this thing of like, not so much anymore, but I would notice previously in other relationships when I was younger, friendships, I wouldn't be invited to the beach event. I wouldn't be invited to the event that was at the beach, at the pool, anything where it was like co-ed. Like, if their boyfriends were there, I wasn't going to be there. And I I always felt like that is the ultimate slap in the face, because you don't trust me or you don't trust your partner. Either way, this is an authentic friendship and this fucking blows. And so like, now I know that like all of my friends, they're always the most confident and the most welcoming women, period. And there's no such thing as like competitiveness with someone that they deem as more attractive. We don't look at other girls in that way. You either connect with us or you don't.
For sure. And I don't know, did like girls ever bully? Like, were you posting when you were in high school?
No, but I was bullied heavily in middle school and high school, and like very, very badly. And I didn't, in middle school, it's so funny, I didn't really even realize how bad it was until I ran into people later on in life that are like, oh my God, like in 7th grade, like when like they will bring up scenarios that I just kind of pushed out.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I think that bullying transforms into like just name calling and physically trying to hurt somebody into something like reputation damaging. And I had that a lot in high school and college, where it was like, oh, I did what? And it was always trying to convince people to see me in a way that I just wasn't, so that they would think I was gross or like damaged goods or not to be trusted, or you're not a kind person. And so I feel like I become very like, I like to really prove who I am.
Yeah.
Like, what you see is what you get. And if you don't believe that, then that's on you, not on me, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I really relate to that. Going back to people being mean to you in high school. Like, I've been posting like an influencer since I was like, had like 1,000 followers. And when I was in high school, that was not cool. Like,
really?
I was like, dude, I was like the girliest out of all my friends. All the girls in my high school did not post on social media. It was not cool to do that. I remember people used to like make comments to me, like my friends, but I knew they were kind of saying it behind my back. Like, wow, you like to take a lot of pictures of yourself, or wow, you take a lot of selfies, or like you post a lot. Like, just like little comments like that, instead of being supportive, because I always wanted to post on social media and I always wanted to like model and do that stuff. And I always felt like people were kind of talking about me behind my back, or like sending my stories to each other and just gossiping. And I look back now and I'm like, well, now it's my job, so fuck you guys.
I know, I'm making my
I'm making money, and like, what are
money.
you guys doing? So that's kind of how I feel about it. But yeah, I relate to just not realizing how bad it was, and then people bringing it up to you, and you're like, oh, it was like that. I guess I was like seriously bullied, I guess.
And it's like low-key embarrassing. You're like, oh, fuck.
Damn, I guess someone really tried to ruin my life.
Yeah, people really remember, and it's so embarrassing. It's so funny when I think about, so I had 2 friends that were in photography classes in high school, and they'd always use me as like their subject for whatever, like whenever they had to shoot a person. And I would post those photos because my friends are fucking talented, and I would post those pictures on my MySpace or my Facebook, whatever. And the mean girls in my high school would say really horrible things and make fun of me. And then they'd get their brothers to say really mean things about me, and they had graduated high school. So that was really weird. And then those are the same girls that now follow me and then will DM me that they think it's so cool that I'm doing XYZ. And it's just like, God, it's so transparent. I didn't see it for what it was in high school, because I to my core always thought I was very weird, very ugly, and very unlikable. So when people bullied me, I'm like, I agree. Yeah. Like, what are you trying to convince me of? I know. And they thought that they had to humble me, or like put me in their place, or like or put me in my place and do whatever to make them feel better about themselves. I'm like, don't need to do that to me. I'm not the target.
Yeah, dude, I know. I'm sorry we're like yapping.
No,
but
you guys
I know,
are good.
sorry,
I enjoyed it.
Mark, what? What?
I know. I feel like it's like, have you heard the term like ugly duckling syndrome? Yeah, like I grew up and I felt so ugly. Like I used to have a mole on my face that I got surgically removed when I was 12, like a mole dead center in my chin. And I had a gap in my teeth and I was like a little chubby, not fat, but I got extra weight on me. And like no guy ever liked me. People were my friends, but they made fun of me. And I was never like the pretty girl ever.
Yeah.
And I never felt good about myself. And I think that just kind of stuck with me. So when I got my mole removed and my teeth closed and I lost weight and everyone started making comments about my appearance to me, I never believed it.
I don't believe it.
And even still to this day, like there are so many times where, you know, girls will come up to me on the street and compliment me, or I book a really great modeling job. I'm like, this should reafirm me. That like I am beautiful, but I still like, it's so hard to believe because I still picture myself as like the 12-year-old girl that hated herself. So it's so hard to like move past that and get over it as an adult and be like, you are beautiful. Like no matter how many times people tell you, I'm like, I'm always going to feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
I think with that though, what I would say is like, is learning to like really, I think a lot of times when you compliment people, they almost feel a little bit awkward. And I think sometimes you just have to like embrace it for a moment and just be like, I don't know, almost like let it sit with you and like sink in of how genuine and nice that compliment was. Because for me, it was like, you know, when, you know, we'll show our age here, but there was a web forum when we were, I mean, I'm 32. So when I was probably like 19 or 20, I was hosting a lot of concerts at Michigan State and I was putting on a lot of events and I was doing all these like forward facing things. And I put on like flash mobs and did all this crazy shit. And so my name was kind of like everywhere when I was in college. And so there was this web forum where they would have different universities and each university would have its different subjects. And the top subjects were typically like sororities and fraternities like fighting over who was the best and yada, yada, yada. The number one subject at Michigan State was Marc Colcer. And it was all of these people just dogpiling on me. I mean, and I had really bad acne and they would say terrible, terrible shit about my face. Like it was like, I mean, my God, I had no confidence. Like I was like a negative 75 out of 10. Like that's how low my confidence was, right? And I learned that like at that time it was like I felt so like ugly to the world, right? And so, you know, I literally like I cried a lot. Like I would call my mom and I was just like really emotional about it and everything like that. And I learned to find my ways to kind of like move past those comments. And it was like by the time somebody had made 100 negative comments about me, it's like, how are you going to tell me I got acne when I already know I got acne? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, at some point it stops phasing you because you're like, I know it. Like, I know it and it is what it is. And the other thing is I'm short. I'm 5'7", and it's like, you know, from literal birth, it's like the society tells you that the best guys are tall, dark, and handsome, right? And I'm like, well, fuck me, right? Yeah. And so I think I learned to at some point be like, okay, hey, you know what? You are short and hey, your skin sucks. And at some point it was like I accepted that. And once I did, I learned to control what I could control, right? And so as I got older, I learned more about taking better care of my skin and different things that I could do that maybe the dermatologist wasn't talking to me about. And so it was like, okay, let me change my pillowcases far more often. Let me use silk. Let me cut out dairy out of my life. Let me cut out processed sugars and things like that. And next thing you know, my skin starts to improve and improve and improve and improve. And now at 32, you know, however many years later, it's like I get compliments on my skin. And when it does, I've learned to like, because at first I would almost like bashful when someone would make like a compliment about my skin. And now I'm like, dude, it just like, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, like that really does mean a lot. Like I've been told 1 trillion times how ugly I am. And like when you've been told that so many times, it's hard to accept that like you're not that anymore. And I'm just like, hey, like, thank you. Like that means a lot from somebody who was on Accutane for 6 years and on, you know, other antibiotics for probably another additional 4 years. For you to tell me that my skin is even remotely good, like, thank you. And I think when then when you say that and you kind of show your appreciation for it, I think it starts to sit in of like, I'm not that anymore. And I think that's where my confidence comes from now. Still short, but like, fuck it. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Thank
Like,
you.
Glowing, man.
I'm short too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Can't relate,
I don't know.
loser.
Yeah, I don't know. Fuck people.
Yeah. Fuck
That's
tall
our
people,
general consensus.
real.
Is fuck people.
People don't try to tear people down if they don't think that they're better than them.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look at the people who get the most hate. The people that are the wealthiest, most successful, most famous, dating the most beautiful people, living the lives that other people could never have lived. And you think that Rihanna cares, that you think she's fat now? Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
Like
the
Rihanna's
real loser.
perfect.
Yeah, the real loser is the people making those comments in the first place.
Yes,
like
you
you're
shouldn't
the
care.
real loser here.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think also too, it's like it's that reminder of like when you go to do something that's outside the societal normal box, right? Whether you're like the person who's making like cooking TikToks for the first time, or whether you're the person that's doing, modeling or comedy or podcasting or whatever, writing your own book, there's always going to be people that are like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you just going the normal route, right? And the reason why they make those comments and why they're kind of, I guess, negative with it is because you're doing something that they know that they couldn't do, right?
Yeah.
That they don't have the balls to go and do that, right? And so at certain times, you got to remind yourself of like, I'm doing cool shit. And that's the reason why people are going to feel some type of way about it, right? And so as long as you know that and you never lower yourself to their level of telling them to go fuck themselves back, it's like, at the end of the day, it's almost like a compliment when you have some people who dislike you, because if they don't actually know you and they dislike you, they're truly just jealous of you.
Yeah.
If they know you and don't like you, well, hey, maybe
Let's
they
reevaluate.
suck.
maybe you got to figure out some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Should we move on to our next one?
yeah, but that was a banger.
Damn, I really liked ours.
Yeah. I don't even know where we're still on
Are we
Icks.
still?
We're on like Icks on silver.
Yeah.
Shit.
Okay, what do we got? We'll fly through the next few. What do we? I got one actually.
Okay.
This goes for anybody. Friendship, whatever, is so hard for me when somebody says, "I seen that." I seen that drives me insane.
What do you mean, like
instead of I saw that, I seen that.
Okay, so bad grammar.
Yeah, but it's like seen specifically.
Yeah.
It's like the. It just.
I've seen that.
Oh, it's
Dude,
like
I know
chalk.
what you
It's like
mean.
nails on a chalkboard.
I don't think that's an egg. It's just like funny.
I know, but like if I'm like, if I don't know, if I'm on a date with a girl and she's like, I seen that, I'm like, oh,
does it bother you if they
Damn
do
it.
the your instead of the like your with the apostrophe
Oh yeah,
RE?
bad grammar.
yeah, but that's like at least in like texting, so it is what it is. But when I hear you say, I seen that, I don't know. Maybe it's because my mom was like very grammatically correct and like would correct me when I was younger.
That's
Maybe it's just
funny.
so ingrained into me, but
No, that's fair. I think that's totally
I
fair.
feel like I've heard more guys say I seen that.
oh, definitely,
Oh, yeah,
it's
the
definitely more of a
girls.
dude thing. But
my boyfriend comes into the bedroom. That sounds so formal.
Into the bedroom.
Came into the bedroom this morning, and he goes, "This person said flued." He's like, "Flown is right there. Flown is right there. You flew there. You flown.
I flewed.
You flew. Flown. It's all right there."
I
yeah,
don't know if that's an A. I think we all make mistakes.
yeah, that's fair.
Depends how often.
Yeah.
Grammar can be tough. I get that.
That's also growing up in the Midwest. Like I seen that is like the
It's like a
most
slur.
Yeah, well, it's just like it's the most like Walmart comment. So like I don't know, it's like so normal in like the Midwest, but it like still it just like it irks. You're either on the side that you say it or it irks you when you grow up in the Midwest because you hear it so often. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a
Super
Nick.
fair.
Yeah. What about you?
Should we go? You go.
You have to go because what I was about to say, me interrupting you, is horrible timing.
Oh, you're about to say people that interrupt?
No, quite literally, mine was someone who talks about themselves and then changes the topic when you share your input.
Stop.
Yeah. So anyway, always.
Yeah. No,
anyways,
literally.
yeah. Okay, we'll circle back to that. I
Yeah.
was gonna say, someone who tries to flex their wealth or buy you. I've never
Gross.
personally experienced this because I just would never even come near a guy that tried to do this. But I find it gross when a guy thinks he can do this. I'm so unattracted to somebody who thinks that they can buy me. Like if they assume I'm really materialistic, and I literally had a guy ask me on a date once, and he was like, "If you come on this date, like I'll give you a Birkin bag."
Oh.
And I was like, no. Like, that's actually gross that you think I'm going to come on a date with you because of that. Or people that think they can, like, impress me with money. like with like flashy cars or like flashy things, or they're just constantly trying. It seems like you're trying to buy me instead of just actually getting to know me as a person. You're just like showing these. And I also think rich people don't flex their wealth like that.
Not real well.
I just don't like that. It's very superficial. I actually find it really gross. I just don't like it. To me, it almost feels like you're so insecure that you feel like you need to flash all these things in my face to make me like you. But in reality, that's not making me like you at all. I just want to get to know you as a person.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't care. Yeah. Don't try to give me something to make me like you. What?
That's really refreshing because that is not the case for a lot of people.
I know,
a lot of people want to be bought. They actually actively seek out men that will buy them.
Well, I'm disgusted by that, and I don't like being grouped into it. And listen, to each their own. If you're a girl and you're getting that Birkin bag for going on a date with a guy, slay, go off. But personally, this is like a personal ick, is I just really, really, really don't like that. Don't like it at all. I really don't like it
either. Yeah. I almost didn't go out on a date with this guy because he rented a Lamborghini for our first date.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And picked me up in it. And I was like, is this your car? And I said it with like a disgust, because I actually hate Lamborghinis. And he was like, try to go around. He's like, no, but like you said you like cars. And I'm like, yeah, like I like Shelby's, like I like an old Cobra, I like an E-Type, like I like old classics, like European cars. I like a lot of like old trucks and stuff too, but still I'm not going to be impressed by the new Ferrari, the new Lambo that you can't even drive. You're grinding the gears. Like that isn't going to make me like you. And I almost didn't talk to him again, and I wish I hadn't.
Yeah, it almost makes me feel like you think I'm materialistic.
You think I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Is what you're telling me. You think I'm stupid.
It like makes me think, oh, this is what girl like, buy thing.
Yeah,
like,
caveman,
it's like such a caveman. Like
you like write with your
no,
pencil
just
like
be
this.
Funny and nice, and just
Yeah.
I think there's certain times too. It's like I went to this like nice restaurant in Chicago, and I went there, and it was rated as like the top sushi spot in Chicago, right? And my buddy had told me ahead of time, like, it's very expensive, yada yada yada. And I went there afterwards, and I thought it sucked. And I was I was just like, man, I just thought that, like, God, that was like ass. And I was like, I know that there are, like, I was almost like, I had this like existential crisis for a second of like, am I honest with my buddy of like, I didn't like it at all, right? And I was like, I almost feel like there's certain times where because something's expensive, you're supposed to be like, oh, oh my God, dude, that was amazing. That was like one of the best meals I've ever had. And instead I was like, that was so trash. Like, I've had better sushi from like a Kroger. Like, you know what I mean? And that's where I was just like, I think there's certain times where people almost because something's expensive, they feel like they have to like it. And it's like, dude, I've had some of the best burgers have been at like a like tailgate at like a college football game. And, some of the like worst food I've ever had has been at like a top restaurant. I mean, again, that was one of the top sushi spots in Chicago. Yeah. And so it's like, I feel like a lot of times people feel like because something's expensive, that means that it has worth to it. And it's like, dude, just buy something because you like it. Don't buy it because of the price tag or whatever. Just buy something because you like it and stop flexing your shit. Like, I would never go back to that spot because it wasn't good. And somebody else could tell me it was their favorite. It is what it is. I don't like it. I'd rather go to the place that's much cheaper that I actually enjoy. And I think we put way too much value, or a lot of people put way too much value into things based off the price tag and not how that thing makes them feel or how they enjoy it or whatever.
Amen.
All right, Anna, what's your next ick?
Mine was the one that they talk about themselves and then they change the topic. Like when you are having a conversation with somebody, one-sided. When someone is talking at you and then you add your feedback of like, oh yeah, like when I was little, I used to, and then they're just like, yeah, it's interesting. And they shut you down. Like, which ultimately can be translated as someone that only talks about themselves. I really don't like a person that's just always talking about themselves.
I know. You have to be like self-aware. And I feel like I make it a point to ask questions. Like, no one wants to hear you talk about yourself all the time.
And even if they do sit there wanting to hear about you, just be polite. just show some interest. Like, at least make the person feel like it didn't have to just be anybody. And I feel like often you end up feeling like a warm body in those situations where it's like, you just didn't want to be alone. It didn't matter that it was me. And like in a conversation, I want to make it clear, like, I'm having this conversation because you're here. Like, it's important that you're here.
Okay, well, I got a question I got to ask you guys because this I've recently started doing this. I want to know if it's weird or not. Okay? So I meet a lot of people, obviously, from either like doing the podcast or from people I work with and things like that. I meet a lot of people on a regular basis, and I like to have very deep conversations and get to know people and things like that. The hard part is the older I get, my memory sucks. And like there's certain times where I have a really in-depth conversation with somebody, and in that moment I remember all of it. But then if I don't see that person for a month or two, sometimes I forget some of the details they told me. So I started writing notes. And it like helps me remember that like all the different details. And so I think I almost like never even have to look back on the notes. It's like almost like once I write it down, I've like put that in my memory of like that. Okay, now I remember all of those details about that person. But sometimes I feel like, am I like cheating to like write down notes that somebody, like things that somebody, that I learned about somebody? But it's also just like so I can help myself remember everything, because I don't want them to tell me something in the future and I completely forgot, you know, another aspect of that. And now I feel like I'm not paying attention to our conversation.
I feel like that's such a nice gesture. Like if I found out that somebody took the time to write down something that I had said just because they cared enough to remember down the road, I would feel like no matter, even if it was the most insignificant, stupid thing, and that person meant nothing to me, that would immediately level up our relationship, just knowing that they took the effort to do that. It would just make you feel important.
Yeah, no, that's so sweet.
That's a good thing.
That is like the nicest thing I've ever heard. That's so like attentive and kind, and like that's so nice.
Yeah,
I feel like
thing.
Yeah, like I have like some friends like that. Like they just pay attention to the small things, and it is just so sweet. You know, like whenever I say like I said I was upset once, and my friend came by and he dropped me off like a thought journal or something to journal your thoughts. And he's like, well, you said like you were kind of upset, so I got you this. I was like, you got me this.
It's so nice.
It's so nice. So keep doing that. It's so sweet. If I found like a little like notepad with like notes written about me, I would literally start crying.
Yeah, what do you say about us? What's about us on that note?
I don't know.
Heloise will cry if you say nice things about
compliment her.
Literally, I wonder if like they can't see this on camera. This is like recently. Like these are notes.
That's great.
Very sweet.
Because
you network a lot too, so
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of reinforces the human in you. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like because you're always in business mode, it's kind of like there's a personal element to it, that it isn't just about business all the time.
Yeah, and I think too, when somebody tells you like intimate details about them and their life and things like that, it's like, again, it is hard if you are not seeing them on an extremely regular basis and things like that. But also, even if like, I don't know, if I'm going on on a date, like I want to write down afterwards some like things I learned about her, because you know, when somebody tells you kind of like a really random, you know, fun fact, like, oh, I love, you know, Hawaiian pizza or whatever, it's kind of natural that like over some time you may forget if you don't bring that up again, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you instead write that thing down and then like late, you know, maybe 4 months down the road, she's like, oh, you know what? We should get pizza. And you show up and you got the Hawaiian pizza and you remembered. It's like, that means a lot. But yes, I will forget if I don't write it down. So I write it down.
I will say this is like a social anxiety person's nightmare, because like if you have like a glass of wine and you get deep and you just confide, and then you know that you're writing that shit down in a note, and like the next morning I'll be telling myself like, oh, he doesn't even remember that.
yeah. Me, I'm like, no, I got it written down.
You have it in fine print.
I remember every detail you said.
Oh, that's brutal for me.
I won't write down every detail, but I'll kind of give me like
Cliff notes.
Yeah, Cliff notes, like
ones.
little bullet points, so I kind of like, oh, that jogs my memory. Now I remember what we said.
Yeah, circling back to what I said, like I don't want to be bought. Like that's like if a guy tried to buy me a bag, feel nothing. If I went into his apartment and I found a little notepad of like little things about me, like, let's get married.
I would go either way. I'm kind
really
of
like good,
horrible.
like sweet things, like little to remind him. I'm like, that is so sweet.
I'm horrible in the way that I could see myself being like, you're a serial killer.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty horrible. I could see myself either going like, wow, this is really sweet, or like, am I that? How many girls are you seeing that you had to write this down about me because you couldn't keep us straight? I would make it negative.
No, it's just like, I don't know. Have you guys ever watched like How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so there's like one episode where Ted is schooling Barney on Robin, and they meet every night at like in like a classroom, and he gives him a slideshow presentation about Robin. And it's just it's weird, but it's I just think it's cute when someone pays like that much attention to you.
Absolutely.
And notices like the little things. And I think that's important when you're dating someone. Like you notice that I do that, like normal people don't. So it's sweet.
It is very sweet.
I will say that. I mean, that's how I knew that my sister was going to marry my brother-in-law, because when the first night I met him, when I would talk about things going on with my life, he already knew about it, which meant when my sister told him, he actually listened and paid attention.
Which is great.
And that was like, and literally that day I was like, you're going to marry that guy. And they dated for 5 years, got married. They've been married for 9. So it's like, you know, I think there is something about like people remembering details and things like that. Because it does kind of suck when you're like, oh, I've definitely told this person this before, and they're acting like it's the first time they've heard it, and you're like, okay,
yeah,
you didn't really care about that, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, but
still important.
Yeah.
Okay, should we fire through really quickly the third ones?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're-
I have my third.
all right, you go, Eloise.
Mine is when people are rude to servers.
Oh my god, I had that.
I was going to write that too.
Yep.
And I was like,
Dude,
someone's gonna
such
say
an
it.
ick. Like, I mean, I just don't like it when people are rude in general, but specifically to servers.
Yep.
Like, you can just tell that person thinks that they are above them. Like, shut up. I
Yeah.
hate it. It makes me cringe.
Yeah,
Get
I
over
agree with that.
yourself.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Mine is, it already feeds into something we already talked about. Needing quick hits of dopamine and validation from strangers to feel desired or like important. Like a guy that like can't just hear from his girlfriend that he's, you know, hot. He has to hear it from any other girl, and like that makes him feel good at a party real quick. Gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I did have one similar to what you were talking about before, of like like you said you don't want to be bought. I don't like women that want to be bought.
Yeah.
And like that's definitely been something that has like irked the hell out of me. I feel like some of the like least genuine gifts are like a purse, because I'm like, if you buy somebody a nice purse, odds are they're going to be like, oh, this is nice, because they know it has, you know, significant value or whatever. But that purse doesn't mean that you actually know that person. And so I feel like there's certain people where their love language is receiving gifts of luxury.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that doesn't mean that they actually genuinely give a shit about you. They're getting you something that 99% of people would love. And so that gift is not personal in the slightest. And yeah, I just feel like there's certain times that there's certain people that, I mean, I remember like a first date that I was going on, and the girl that I was like, oh, you know, where do you want to go? And she named like the most expensive restaurant in that area. And I was just like, do you want to get to know me, or are you just literally trying to get like a free meal out of this?
Yeah.
And I just got kind of like, because she gave me, it wasn't even just the one. I asked her like, oh, she gave me a few, and every single one of them was like not just 5-star, but like 7-star restaurants, like the top of the top. And in times like that, I'm like, yeah, I just don't really feel like you're trying to get to know me. I feel like you're looking to just like get a really nice meal. And it's like, I'm not opposed to going to those meals, but why don't we wait until like maybe the
Date 4.
yeah, something. Let's work our way up a little bit. And I'm not saying we start off at, you know, the hot dog stand.
Oh,
like,
that's dream date.
Yeah. Glizzy Queen over there.
Glizzy Queen.
Yeah.
Glizzy Glizzer.
But, you know, just working your way up. I feel like I like people that are a little bit more simplistic,
Yeah.
and then, you know, again, still can enjoy the nice things, but not necessarily like waiting for that nice thing, I guess.
It shouldn't make you like somebody.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to treat somebody and spoil them, like when you love them or in your relationship with them. But like, come on. It shouldn't make you like attracted to a person, in my personal opinion. But there's such a big push on like social media and everything for that now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a tough subject.
I don't know if my boyfriend would even want me to share the story, but whatever. So for Christmas, he got me a YSL purse that I had thought was really, really beautiful. I opened it up and I started shaking, and I was like, I don't like how I feel right now. And I thought about it, and he and I like went to this bar, and like it's one of our things that we like to do is like we like to go to like the shittiest dive bar in town if we're traveling and like sit with locals. And we were sitting at the bar, and I was like, I love you, but I have to return that purse. And he was like, it's your literal dream purse. And I was like, yeah, but the reality of having it made me so uncomfortable. I was like, I'm carrying a $2,000 purse when I could be carrying something that was $200 and like it just as much.
Yeah.
And there was something about it that just felt, and then I'm one of those people that gets really insulted by the price tag, where I'm like, you thought I was dumb enough to buy something that cost this much money that probably cost $200 to make, if that.
Yeah.
And then like people are just fucking lined up around the block to pay overpriced for something that they won't really care about next season. And so we quite literally returned the purse the next week, and I felt so good about it. And then he bought me that really beautiful red purse for, you know, $1,500 less, if not more.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I carry it all the time. And I don't feel, I felt embarrassed. I felt weird carrying it.
And you guys probably went and did something with that extra 1,500. You guys probably went to either, some different dinners over the course of time or different things that like you end up enjoying those moments, those memories more than you would. Like if you guys went on like a trip together. Well, actually, you guys just literally went on a trip together.
Yeah.
It's like
we're experienced people. Like we'd rather just like do things together and enjoy. And I remember, it happened like 2 weeks ago. I told him, I'm like, this money that you just spent on me, remember, I was like, I don't know if this is even like, this isn't advice that I'm giving anyone, but I was like, there's going to be a point in time where I am having a hard time financially. Like life is crazy. Like there might be a time where I need you to kind of cover my ass a little bit more when it comes to certain bills or certain whatever. And I don't want to feel bad about it. Yeah. So like, just like, how about you don't buy me anything with this money? And you just like, you got me in the future, because like, I will be like that with you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn, that's facts. There we go.
Yeah.
Wait, cool. do we have any left, or was that?
I think
those
those
are
are
mine.
my 3. Yeah.
There we go.
That was a great episode.
Yeah. How was your first podcast episode?
It was great.
You're natural.
Yeah, thank you. It felt very comfortable. I wasn't nervous.
There we go.
Yeah, it was great.
I told you you'd feel good in no time.
I am like quite a bit of I yap a lot, like I talk a lot, as I've been told. So it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that hard for me.
Is that wait? Isn't that what the kids are saying right now? Is they posting a photo of something and like this and yap? Is that?
I just like the word yap because I think like people say you're yapper a lot, right? So I think yap is like a cute little word for saying you talk a lot.
I think so too. We all talk a lot. It's one thing we have in common.
I think that's a good thing. People kind of say it as a negative thing, but
I hate awkward silence.
I'm a yapper.
Yeah.
I'm a Yaposaurus Rex.
100%.
This and yap.
This and yap.
Yeah, it's Mark and yap.
This and yap. All right, are we all going to dinner?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to come with us?
Yeah.
Yay.
There we go.
Okay, so excited. We can yap more.
There we go.
In an hour of traffic to drive 6 miles.
Where are we going?
I'm not going to say it. I guess this is going to come out later.
Yeah. We will not be at dinner when this podcast is out.
Come have dinner with us.
I don't know. This place called eBay's, and it's
eBay.
It's an Asian fusion, Asian fusion public house offering chef crafted menus with I don't know, it's like a fusion, Asian fusion.
I'm so happy all I eat is Asian food.
It looks incredible.
Every day.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
No, I literally, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I can't have like white people food.
Well, I'm not going to take
growing up in Thailand problems, and Bangkok, I also love when a restaurant says, is like, just side note, chef curated. Like, no shit. Is it every restaurant chef curated?
like, wait, truly?
What's the alternative?
Yeah, me curated.
Come back here. Come back into the kitchen. Cook your own shit.
Don't do that. Anyways, let's go get food.
Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later. And
guys.
see you guys.
Bye.